As it was nice to have the four nations to see the best on best, it is now time to get back into the NHL action as it's no longer a marathon, but a 26 game sprint to the NHL playoffs.
You're Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to a Friday edition of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you to the Everydayer for making this your first listen of the day. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, talking everything about your Carolina Hurricanes. I'm your host, Zach Martin. I'm the credentialed Carolina Hurricanes beat writer over at the Hawkers. Also do some NHL coverage over at the Calder Times. I'm the co-host of the Surgecast, which is a weekly Carolina Hurricanes podcast, along with all my duties here at Locked On Hurricanes. Got a fun Friday edition of the pod as we are now setting our sights on the Hurricanes' first game back since the Four Nations break, as they will be taking on the Toronto Maple Leafs in Toronto on Saturday. Do a quick standings refresher to see where the Hurricanes stand with 26 games left in the regular season for them. Also, what possible lines could we be seeing for the Hurricanes against the Maple Leafs, as we'll also kind of preview the game, just kind of, letting everyone know where we're at in terms of getting into that game. And then who are the players to watch overall for the Carolina Hurricanes? It should be a very fun time on Saturday, getting back into NHL action with the team. So doing a quick standings refresh. I know it's been a little while. It's been a couple weeks now since, that we've seen the Hurricanes in action without the Four Nations. So as of right now, if you look at the entire Eastern Conference as a whole, your Carolina Hurricanes are actually sitting third in the entire East with 70 points, 33, 19, and 4. And they do have a game in hand on the Florida Panthers, who have 71 points. And they have played one more than Washington, and they are 10 points back of them. The Toronto Maple Leafs, who they play on Saturday, they're 2 points ahead of them, but Toronto has a game in hand on the Hurricanes, and they sit at 68 points. For this game, it's going to be very interesting with the fact that you have the Hurricanes who are 12, 13, and 3 on the road, and the Maple Leafs are 19 and 11 at home. Looking at the last 10, Hurricanes 6, 3, and 1, Toronto 6 and 4. But if you want to look at the overall league standings, not just the Eastern Conference, the Hurricanes do sit 7th in the entire NHL. Like I said, 1 point behind the Florida Panthers. Same amount of games, 2 points back of Vegas, who's in 5th. And, Edmonton Oilers do have a game ahead on the Hurricanes, and they also have 72 points as well. The Winnipeg Jets leading the entire NHL with 81 points. Now, looking at the wild card situation, we all know the Hurricanes are right now in second place with a game ahead on the New Jersey Devils, who have 68 points. And then looking at the wild card, it is the Ottawa Senators at 62, Detroit Red Wings at 60, and then you have a huge clog up between the Jackets and the Bruins, both at 60, and then the Rangers and the Islanders at 58 and 57. So it's kind of the closer-ish teams with Montreal and Pittsburgh both at 55, along with Philadelphia. So that's kind of where we're at in the standings wise. I mean, your Hurricanes, 21, 6, and 1 at home, 12, 13, and 3 on the road. It's very interesting when you look at the home and away stats, where the Hurricanes are pretty much dominant at home. Like I said, you've only lost 6 games in regulation. The one, overtime / shootout loss at home was against the Ducks on Eric Stahl Day. But overall, you're 21 and 6 at home with that, like I said, one loss in overtime. It's the road games that have been the most interesting part for the Hurricanes this season. Like I said, you're 12, 13, and 3, below 500. It seems like they're not doing what they need to do on the road, but it's their home records kind of what's helping them out right now in terms of the Metropolitan Division. They do have a plus 30 goal differential compared to the top 3 teams in the Metro. Washington's at 56, and the New Jersey Devils at 33. And then looking at the rest of the division overall, everyone else is in the minuses. -2 for Columbus, -3 for the Rangers, -10 for the Islanders, and then a -37 for the Penguins, and -30 for the Philadelphia Flyers. So overall, you're kind of feeling pretty good about yourself with the Carolina Hurricanes because yes, you only have 2 points up on the Devils, but you are pretty much 10 points clear of the Columbus Blue Jackets, and you've played the same amount of games. So overall, you're fine. I mean, we all know this team is going to be making the playoffs for the 7th straight season in a row. For me, it's a foregone conclusion that this is just a 26 game sprint to the end of the regular season until we get to the playoffs to see where their seeding is going to be. Are they going to be the number 2 seed in the Metro? Are they going to be the 3? Are they going to get that home ice advantage in the first round? Or are they going to be the road team? Or, do they get on a really huge hot streak and, they catch the Capitals? I mean, they're only 10 points back, so it is doable. It is doable. It's just you got go on a huge run and get some help from other teams to beat Washington. But that, like I said, you're still within striking distance. And the thing too is, like, we're about a couple weeks off from the trade deadline on March 7th. So we know Eric Tulsky said that this team's not done. They're always looking. They're always making calls. They're always wanting to make the roster better. So will we see a big splash? Probably not, because we only went for our big game fishing already. But maybe it's a 4th line center. Maybe it's a winger we definitely need. Or, maybe if there's a 2nd line center, it's not going to cost an arm and a leg. That maybe isn't like a Mikko Rantanen splash, but enough to where it's like, okay, this could be something the Hurricanes could work with. That's a possibility. But overall, I think when you look at how, it's just a dead sprint. Because they talk about how, the NHL season's so long, it's a marathon. Like, don't get caught up into the games in October and November, maybe a little bit of December. It's all about what's February through April. What's that going to be like? Well, as of February 21st, it is now fully sprint time because, like I said, you got 26 games left in the regular season. You're not that far off from the trade deadline. And even after that, you're talking 18 to 20 games, where now it's even a faster sprint because now even with the new guys you brought in, now they really have to get ready and get bought in to what this back half of the season, this back bit of the season is going to be the last, third of the season. So it's going to be very interesting. But as of right now, the Hurricanes, like I said, they're in a great spot. They're they're second in the Metro. They're 10 points up on the Blue Jackets, who are right now in a battle for a wild card. They're not far off of Ottawa and Boston. So for me, it's like I'm not really worried about the miss of the playoffs. I think it's a foregone conclusion that they're going to get in. Like I said, this is just where are you looking in terms of are you within shooting distance of a division title, or is this where is your seeding? Are you going to be second? Are you going to be third in the Metro? I mean, at this point, unless the Jackets go on an absolute run and they catch the Devils, we're probably looking at New Jersey being our first round opponent in the playoffs, this upcoming, postseason. But hey, anything can happen to where maybe the Jackets get hot, or maybe the Hurricanes get hot and the Capitals falter. Then it's all right, who do you face on a wild card spot? That's a big question. But overall, like I said, you're feeling kind of good about yourself. So the Carolina Hurricanes and the fans, I mean, they shouldn't really worry. They won big against Utah to go into the Four Nations break 7-3. Now you're coming back and playing the Toronto Maple Leafs, who last time, your first meeting of the season, you beat 6-3 in that absolutely wild game in Carolina where Jordan Staal got his hat trick. So it's going to be, it seems like ever since the David Ayers games against the Maple Leafs have been absolutely wild. So it should be an interesting game for sure. But like I said, you're going into this, it's, where you stand. It's going to be like I said, you are well within a striking distance of a division, but overall, conference-wise, you're the 3rd best team in the East. League-wise, you are the 7th best as well. So if you're the Carolina Hurricanes, I know there's a lot of, worry about, okay, how's this team going to be, latter part of the season, are guys going to mesh together, all this other stuff. Guys are coming back healthy. So it does warrant a lot of, was this break helpful for this team? And I think it was for sure. So now it's just buckle in and get ready, because you're talking 26 games in 52 games, or 26 games in 52 days. It is going to be absolutely wild for sure. So, like I said, we know where we're at now in the standings. Did mention the Maple Leafs a little bit, and you know what? We're going to have to talk about it because it's our first preview back from the Four Nations break. What possible lines could we be looking at? What does the tale of the tape say between these two teams? So stick around as I go through all of that here in a second on a Friday edition of Locked on Hurricanes. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. Right now, new FanDuel customers can bet $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Welcome back to segment 2 of Locked on Hurricanes, your team every day. So like I said, now we're going to kind of preview the game for the Hurricanes against the Maple Leafs and what lines we could be possibly looking at. So, as of right now, the full team isn't back because obviously Thursday night, you got the final, that was between Canada and the United States, and waiting for Jacob Slavin and Seth Jarvis to come back, they gave Aho and Rantanen a couple days off because they were just playing in Four Nations. They ended their season, they ended that on Monday. But going by from what we've seen with the Lions, it's going to be really no surprise that you're looking at a possible Rantanen, Aho, Jarvis on your first, probably going to be a Svechnikov, Kotkaniemi, Blake for your second. Then, of course, or if you want to look at, maybe a Svechnikov with the Martinook and Stahl, then it's probably going to be a Hall, Kotkaniemi, Blake second, which is still a really good second line as well. And then your fourth line of a Robinson, Tyson Jost, if he's 100% ready to go, or maybe Juha Jaska, they bring him up if Jost isn't ready, and Jack Roslovic. So, honestly, that's a great, 1, 2, 3, 4 in terms of how you want to look at that. Because with Hall and Kotkaniemi, they've been playing really well. You get Jackson Blake has been very close to scoring, goals even on that first line. That's still a great second line to have. That's behind a very potent Aho, Jarvis, Rantanen. Of course, defense, nothing's really going to change. It's probably going to be a Slavin Burns, Orlov, Chatfield, and of course, Gostisbehere and Walker. And in terms of goal, who knows? It could be a Freddie Anderson, or it could be a Pierre Kachekov. So we're not really know how that's going to work out. So the game is set for a 7 p.m. puck drop. It's going to be on AHL Network. So figure out how to tune in for that one, guys. I know it's going to be on FanDuel, but it's also nationally going to be on the AHL Network. It is what it is. Like I said, in segment 1, the Hurricanes did beat Toronto last time they met. It was 6-3 with the Jordan Stahl hat trick. Over the last 5 games going into the Four Nations break, this is who's kind of leading points, goals, and assists. Seth Jarvis with 6 points. Aho 3 goals, and Andrei Svechnikov with 3 assists. And then in terms of the Maple Leafs, Matthews with 7 points, all of them assists, and then William Nylander with 5 goals. Looking at the sets of goalies, Anthony Stolarz is back for the Maple Leafs. So Stolarz 10-5-2 with a 208 goals against and a 929 save percentage and a shutout. Joseph Wool 19-11 with a 265 and a 909 save percentage with the shutout as well. Last time the Hurricanes played the Maple Leafs was against Joseph Wool. Stolarz is 100% back and ready to go. I could definitely see where it could be a Stolarz might be, getting his feet wet again and playing against the Maple Leafs who go into the game 33-20-2, while the Hurricanes are 33-19-4. Looking at the Hurricanes goaltending, Kachekov 20-10-3 with a 2.5 goals against, a 904 save percentage and a shutout, with Frederick Anderson 6-3 with a 212 and a 914 save percentage. Now, I did say that in terms of the last 10 games, the Maple Leafs are 6-4. Their last game they lost to Vancouver, but before that they had a 3-game winning streak against Edmonton, Calgary, and Seattle. For your Carolina Hurricanes, 6-3-1 with their last one coming against the Utah Hockey Club, where they beat them 7-3. But before that, they started the month of February with 3 straight losses against the Kings, the Winnipeg Jets, and the Minnesota Wild, which, all things considered, all those games are pretty close. It wasn't like the Hurricanes played bad in those 3 games. It's just the puck luck wasn't there. They just weren't able to capitalize on great opportunities, but you could tell they were really close in all 3 of those games, and they were pretty much in it. It's just those are the type of games where it just didn't really work out for you. I mean, it's one thing where it's like you have a 3-game losing streak and you look kind of not the greatest in 3 games, and it's like maybe you got shut out in one of them, or you really just didn't show up. So I wouldn't say it was one of those things where they played bad. It's just it didn't really work out in their favor. So, but at least they won huge against Utah. You avoided a 4-game losing streak, which would have been the first time this season, and you kind of go into the break on a high note. Now you come back and you go against the Toronto Maple Leafs. But if you look at how these 2 teams stack up on paper, power play, Hurricanes are still kind of in a free fall for the most part. They did score recently, but they're 21st in the power play with 20%. The Maple Leafs are 12th at 23.2. But this, for me, is kind of one of the key things is the penalty kill, because the Hurricanes are still second in the league at 84.8, with the Maple Leafs being at 79.9 at 13th. So this is where it's going to be. Special teams is going to be a very huge argument of how this game is going to go. If, even if the Maple Leafs do get power play opportunities, you have the second best penalty kill unit in the Hurricanes, who could shut them down. So one of the key things for me is, if this goes into a special teams battle, you really got to rely on your penalty kill to keep doing their jobs, and creating, opportunities we've seen from Aho and Jarvis. But if you're on the power play, the Maple Leafs penalty kill is pretty good, still in the top half of the league. And, you have an opportunity to maybe, bounce back and kind of, get the monkey off your back in terms of the power play. Face-offs, they're pretty much deadlocked, 3rd for the Hurricanes, 4th for the Maple Leafs. Now, in terms of goals for and goals against, this is the crazy part. The Hurricanes are 6th in goals for per game and 6th in goals allowed. So they've scored 3.29 goals per game while only letting in 2.71. And the Maple Leafs are actually 12th in goals for per game and 12th against as well. Maple Leafs scoring 3.07 per game while only allowing 2.84. So you're still talking about 2 teams that are in the top half of the league, where the Hurricanes are in the middle of the top 10. Maple Leafs just right outside it. So if you're the Hurricanes, you can score against a team who's give up maybe more than they really should. And while they are scoring over 3 goals per game, you're still a team that's allowing only 10.7. So this is a great opportunity for the Kings too, where it's like if you can go into Toronto and score early and basically keep your foot on the gas and silence the crowd that's somewhat already quiet, you're in a good spot if you're the Hurricanes to maybe put this one out of reach early, or at least kind of quiet the crowd a little bit more and put yourself into a good spot, because you basically want to avoid what happened in Carolina, where you go into the game 7 minutes in, Toronto's already got 2 goals. William Nylander had like 3 breakaways. If you're the Hurricanes, this is something that you want to avoid, where you don't have another start like that again, where it's Toronto comes in hot, score 2 against you. You're kind of feeling the pressure, but then, you do come back and you score 5 in the second. I think with, guys being healthy, you got Tyson Jost back, you got these other guys who maybe have been tired, maybe get banged up. They had a nice little break. Maybe, you guys, even with the mentals too, like Amico Ranson and Taylor Hall. Now they come back, with Hall, he had that break, with Ranson, it was that foreign nation, but he comes back ready to go. And you just kind of look at yourselves and be like, okay, team's healthy. You got that break, maybe there's some mental resets, and now you come into this one. I think if you start on time and start hot and score early and get the crowd out of it, I think you put yourselves in a good spot with a team that's, allowed over 2.8 goals per game while you're scoring at a really high rate. And the fact that while they are scoring over 3, you've, given up less than 2.8 per game. So this can be a very telling tale of the fact that special teams is going to be a huge factor. How is this going to play in with, starting early and keeping your foot on the gas and getting this in, trying to score early and get the crowd kind of out of it. But then, this is a start. You start on time. You avoid that start you had against Toronto when they were in Raleigh. So this is going to be a very interesting test of seeing where this team is at after 4 days worth of practice. And now it's your first game back of a 26 game sprint. So we kind of talk about the team overall, last 10 games for both sides, who was hot in the last 5 games before going into the break, talking about goaltenders, but who are the players that we need to watch for your Carolina Hurricanes going into this one against the Toronto Maple Leafs? So stick around, as I'll do that here in a second on a Friday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. In sports, having a winning strategy is everything. It's how the best teams make it to the Super Bowl, the World Series, and the Olympics. The same goes for life. Having a strategy like life insurance from SelectQuote can protect your financial legacy and keep your family's future secure. SelectQuote makes it easy to find the perfect life insurance policy. As one of America's leading insurance brokers with nearly 40 years of experience, they've helped over 2 million customers find $700 billion in coverage since 1985. What sets SelectQuote apart is their personal touch. Unlike other brokers that offer one-size-fits-all policies, their licensed agents tailor coverage to fit your unique needs. If you're in good health, you might even qualify for same-day coverage up to $5 million, no medical exam required. And it's more affordable than you think. You can get up to $1 million in coverage for as little as $20 a month. Get the right life insurance for you for less at selectquote.com/lockedonAHL. Go to selectquote.com/lockedonAHL today to get started. That's selectquote.com/lockedonAHL. SelectQuote. They shop, you save. Welcome back to segment 3 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. So like I said, we kind of went over the, last 10 games, going into this one, look at the goaltending and stuff like that. But now, who are the players to watch for your Carolina Hurricanes? And it's pretty simple of just how is Mikko Rantanen going to be for the Carolina Hurricanes? Because on the season, 66 points in 55 games, only has 2 points with the Canes so far. And I mean, it's less than, he's played less than 10 games with the team. Everyone's still kind of like, okay, when's he going to click in for him? Like, is he doing enough? And yeah, he is. I mean, you see him make all the chances. It's just, post, crossbars, ridiculous saves. You can tell that he's right there. It's just the puck luck needs to go his way. Like the Kings game, he had a bunch of chances. The Wild game, he had a bunch of chances. Just the puck just didn't go in for him. But I know Mikko Rantanen is that guy that the Hurricanes traded for, all those assets to get him. It's been a few games, but I think this break is definitely one that he needed. Because, I mean, you're talking about a guy who got traded in the middle of a road trip, has to go play for the Canes while on the road. Then he gets to go to Carolina right after that. So he even hasn't really had a chance to basically pack up 10 years of his life that he was in Colorado. So that's a big change for him. But I think now getting that mental break of, yes, it's 4 nations. Yeah, now he's been done since Monday, so you probably wanted to, get some stuff taken care of to get back to Raleigh, and kind of, trying to set up something for himself, with all of his stuff. So I think with him having this break is going to go a long way to helping him out. So for me, it's just how is he going to be, mentally, physically? How is he going to be in his, with this stretch of games left to, okay, you finally got that breather. What's that going to look like for you? So I'm definitely going to keep an eye on Mikko Rantanen. I'm still not going to put a lot of pressure on this guy for the fact, like I said, he's played in less than 10 games for the Canes. You've seen him have those chances. It's just the puck hasn't really gone in for him. Like I said, crossbars, the post, the goalies. It's one of those things where, if he was playing very poorly, I'd be kind of concerned. But, I mean, he's had a lot of shots. He's had a lot of chances, plus all the passes he's had, too. You can see him being that dynamic player that it's, the team is having to get used to him too, because they're not used to having a guy like him who's, one of the top 3 power forwards in the league, making insane passes that you would never think to happen before. So it's still like a give and take, but I think with just all these practices this time off, I think Mikko Rantanen will be fine. Everything's going to be okay. Like I said, I'm not going to put a lot of pressure on this guy because, like I said, you're talking about he's been with the team for less than 10 games. Everything's going to work out fine. Another one I'm going to keep an eye on is Seth Jarvis. I mean, him and Jacob Slavin just faced each other off in the 4 Nations final. That ended with Canada winning in overtime 3-2. Of course, a golden goal once again for the Canadians against the States. So it just kind of feels like Vancouver 2010 over again. But you know what? Congratulations to Canada for that. But the thing is, that's Seth Jarvis's, first international best-on-best championship with the NHL's best. So big congratulations to Seth Jarvis. So I'm keeping an eye on him too, because I want to see, what's it like for him, because he missed that game between Canada and Finland to go into the championship, but he played in the final. He's a champion now internationally. So how are his vibes going to be? How is his just the excitement from being able to say that he won the Four Nations, and now he's going to Canada to play the Maple Leafs. Of course, he had all of his buddies from Winnipeg drive 30 hours to this because of their flight getting canceled. So, he's riding a high right now, and I'm just really excited to see what that's going to be like for him when you're back with the rest of the team. You kind of have those bragging rights over, Rantanen and Aho and Jacob Slavin, saying that he, was part of Canada's best on best. So definitely going to keep an eye out for just him being, taking that momentum from just being able to say that he won the Four Nations and taking to that game against Toronto. On the season overall, Seth Jarvis, 22 goals, 45 points. He's a +5. Like I said, leads the entire team in goals, and that's even with playing 7 less games. He still leads the team in goals with those 22. Second on the team in points with 45, only 10 back of Sebastian Aho, who has played 6 more games compared to him, because Aho did miss a game due to illness. But still, though, being able to say that Seth Jarvis is someone who's got 6 power play goals, 20, he leads the team in goals, and it's still playing a lot less than the rest of these guys. He's averaging almost 19 minutes and 22 seconds. I think just seeing him carrying the momentum into the break, what he's done with Canada at Four Nations, and now winning the thing, now coming back, it's going to be an electric time to watch Seth Jarvis. Now, the other guy I want to keep an eye on, and it's the opposite side of the spectrum, is Jacob Slavin, because this tournament has finally shown how good of a player Jacob Slavin is. And you're getting like Frank Saravalli saying, "Oh, he's the poster boy for someone who deserves a defenseman trophy." It's like, well, that's what the Norse, the Norse is supposed to be all around defense. So, all right, let's create a second trophy. But I'm just glad that people are finally recognizing how good Jacob Slavin is. The fact you got the ESPN broadcaster saying, "Oh, great stick work by Jacob Slavin to break this play up. Tell us if you've heard this before." And I'm like, we've been saying this forever. You've heard me say it on this podcast. You've heard me say it on my other podcasts. You guys heard me say it on social media. Jacob Slavin is he is the best defensive defenseman in the entire NHL, and I'm so glad that people are finally jumping onto the train that is Jacob Slavin. And, points-wise, I mean, for a defenseman, like, his game is all defense. We all know that, but, 4 goals, 20 points. He's a +12. 97 blocks, which is absolutely bonkers insane. The fact that he leads the entire team in blocks, I mean, obviously that just makes sense. He just leads the entire team in, time on ice with 21 minutes and 38 seconds. What more can you say about Jacob Slavin? I mean, the second C stands for clutch. Second C stands for Captain America, because honestly, that's just who he is. I mean, I know everyone's going to say they have their own Captain America. Well, we have our own Jacob. We have our own Jacob Slavin. And for the fact that he wanted to stay here, took a very team-friendly discount to stay here, making less than $6.5 million through 2032 is absolutely insane. But I want to see how Jacob Slavin does. I mean, obviously, it's probably not going to affect him as much because it's a huge deal. But he knows that, okay, Four Nations is going to be behind us. Didn't get the job done, but he was there. He was selected. He showed out. People are finally seeing how great he is. But now it's like, all right, now it's back to Canes hockey. Now it's back to let's go get that Stanley Cup. So I'm curious to see how Jacob Slavin has taken that momentum from Four Nations and bringing it back to the Canes, where he was just absolutely showing out for Team USA. But in the comments below, let me know which Hurricanes players you guys are going to be watching in their first big game back against the Toronto Maple Leafs. But that will do a Friday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Thank you for making your first listen today. Please check out Locked On NHL podcast, bringing you the daily league-wide stories that matter with the local coverage you love from Locked On. Find Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you want to keep it with me, I'm at OneShoeZach on X. The podcast is LO_Hurricanes. I'm also on Blue Sky at the Zachary Martin. I do have link trees in both of my bios where you can check my articles out at the Hockey Writers at thehockeywriters.com. If you want to check out my NHL coverage, well, it's theCalderTimes.com. If you want to check out my other podcast, well, it's the Searchcast on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. For this show, Spotify, Google, Apple, iHeartRadio, follow, subscribe, leave a 5-star review, because I might just read it on the show. For YouTube, well, it's Locked On Hurricanes. Subscribe, hit the bell notification so you don't miss the show. Leave the thumbs up to let me know if you like the show as well. Share with other Caniacs to become everydayers just like you. But I hope everyone enjoyed this Friday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Hope everyone enjoys their Friday and the weekend as Carolina Hurricanes hockey is officially back on Saturday against the Toronto Maple Leafs. And until next time, as always, let's go Canes.